guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and the next patch update for the War Within expansion, patch 11.17, has so far been slowly but surely marinating over on the PTR, with us getting a bit of a glimpse and a chance to see some of the new content and features coming out as part of this update. With this being a 0.7 update, it is definitely one of the lighter ones out there, the one that brings with it a bunch of catch-ups to get players prepped and ready for excitement that is Season 3 content, which we should hopefully be seen in an early preview for the 11.2 stuff, hopefully very, very soon. With that being said though, 11.17 is definitely a patch that'll help players get prepped and ready. Whether you're looking to completely switch out a main or get a couple of old characters ready ahead of Season 3 content, maybe get a couple of pieces of gear right before Season 3 is finally here to make sure that you don't fall over as soon as you enter the new raids and dungeons, or maybe you're just somebody who's looking to come back for this patch and just get a bunch of collectibles, and this is actually going to be one of the better patches for that specifically. So for today's video, I want to go over in all the different ways that you'll be able to gain a bunch of catch-up bonuses as part of the patch 11.17, which should hopefully be getting a release date sometime soon. I mean, they just recently revealed the actual official splash screen for this thing, which for some people may not seem like much, but that usually is the very last big step that they take in the PTR update before they give us the revealed release date, which is plenty exciting. As always, if you guys want to keep up with more future content like the patch 11.17 or possibly Season 3 content in the future, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe, but otherwise, let's dive right in. So we know that 11.17 will be a pretty solid catch-up patch, and it's going to have a bunch of different bonuses, one of it being an EXP bonus. And while it could point to something that's super obvious in the calendar, apparently there's something else on the horizon as well for this update. It looks like not only are we going to have one leveling update, but potentially two, as it seems that with this most recent build on PTR, the Winds of Mysterious Fortune buff is actually look like it's planned to make some sort of a return for 11.17. Now, the event itself isn't in the calendar, but it has been data mined and even has an internal date in that data mining planned specifically for patch 11.17. And don't get me wrong, most EXP bonuses that we get from time to time are very popular with the community. However, this most recent Winds of Mysterious Fortune apparently was extremely popular with many players out there and highly requested. So potentially Blizzard might be bringing this back. This hasn't been confirmed anywhere officially, but it has been data mined, and it seems that it's actually going to be coming out like middle of June or July, one of those two. Double checking it, it actually looks like specifically July 17th. I don't really know if that's going to be the case, however, because in June we'll be getting the Turbulent Timeway. Are we just going to have like an overlap on random Thursday with that buff as well for a short bit of time? One of the advantages of that buff and why players liked it though, not only was it a good experience all across the board for many players out there, but it also, depending on which zones you level in, gave you really good gear while you level that character. Normally you would have to keep up with like your heirloom gear or potentially even questing gear, but this type of leveling with the buff actually threw a ton of really useful items that were pretty decent item level for your character, which meant that you didn't really have to worry about falling behind in item level or having content at any moment feel like it was maybe challenging or slowing down your progress. But also the buffs and potions that you gotten for the open world content, it actually made leveling a lot easier. Also, the event gave you a bunch of EXP potions for you to be able to collect, specifically Bottle of Mysterious Wisdom. I've only been able to collect a handful of those, and I imagine other players are in a very similar boat as well, and they were able to collect only a small number of these potions. So maybe partially why they're bringing this event back, because it allows you to store up those potions for any future events to then have them overlap with some of the other leveling bonuses as well. And maybe they felt like the players that did play during the event got a bunch of EXP potions, or potentially they're expecting a bunch of players to come back ahead of Season 2 content, so they wanted to bring it back so players didn't feel like they were missing out on additional bonus experience potentially. And the bonuses for reputations also made it much easier for you to grind out literally everything from the Council of Dornagal, Assembly of Deeps, Arathi Hollowfall, as well as Severed Threads. And yeah, for returning players or players that are diving into War Within for the first time, those bonuses were fantastic. Especially for those players that skipped out on Dragonflight expansion completely, as those reputations also got a decent experience bonus as well, which made it much easier for players to play through that content and get all the renown-based rewards from that specifically. So potentially this type of return could also help out those players that missed out on that expansion to collect all of those rewards as they're returning for Season 3 content. Though if we do or don't get this event, that's still up in the air. However, we do know that another catch-up bonus event is going to be up, which is the Turbulent Time Wave, which is essentially kind of like Giga Juice version of Time Walking Weeks that'll be available every single week until usually Season 3 content arrives. What's fun about Turbulent Time Waves is whenever the event is active, the end date for this event usually coincides with the moment that new seasonal content begins. So as it's over, this gives players an opportunity to not only catch up a bunch of characters through a fairly generous dungeon bonus XP as you dive into Time Walking dungeons on a fresh character. You get bonus experience that keeps stacking up and stacking up and stacking up. So for low level players, that's an opportunity for you to level up and get experience for a character. For max level players diving into those dungeons, that's an opportunity for you to get a bunch of hero track items from the reward boxes, as every single week is going to be juiced with the rewards for those time walking weeks, offering the hero track pieces from the Liberation of Undermine raid in preparation to get you ready for Season 3 content. So it's really super generous when it comes to rewards. It makes it an awesome alt gearing experience, which I imagine together with the turbo boost, together with the cartel tokens, makes for probably some of the best times to get a character caught up ahead of a brand new season. Though those of you that are not looking to level a new character or already, let's say, have a geared main and are not looking to gear him any further, there's still another opportunity for you to do the actual Turbulent Time Waves as it rewards you with a mount. Doing Turbulent Time Waves for multiple weeks in a row to get the buff, like 4 or 5 times in a row, previously would reward you the Sandy Shale Wing. For the second Turbulent Time Waves, it was the Tumbly Busby. This time around is going to be the Chrono Corsair. If you played in expansion of Shadowlands and played through the dungeon of Tazavesh, then you'll be very, very familiar with the time warp looking dragon pirate captain thing. It's a fantastic looking mount. Some players have been asked for a very, very long time, and definitely one of the more unique ones to add to your collections. While we are still on a topic of time walking dungeons, looks like that'll be yet another opportunity for you to be able to catch up a fresh new character. Any characters doing time walking dungeons, first of all, I guess I should mention is Battle for Azeroth, that is an expansion, gets added into the time walking weeks with a variety of different mounts as well as cosmetic rewards that you can get from vendors, which are actually pretty good looking. So if you played back in BFA and always wanted those piratey Boralos trench coats, you'll now be able to get 2 versions, as well as some merchant clothing from the Dalaran, whether you want like the pants and shirt version or possibly the dress version instead. But with this, also we get the Battle for Azeroth dungeons joining the time walking weeks, as well as a time walking dungeon gear change, but also a scaling difficulty change. You see, what they're trying to do with time walking dungeons is to try to increase the gear rewards from those, also try to slightly increase the scaling of those dungeons. In their blog post, they said they want to change the experience of time walking going forward to make it a little bit more authentic, allowing players to really experience the content kind of as it was made to be, giving players an opportunity to use their abilities, practice their class's damage and rotation, actually use healing abilities and use defenses properly by making the content essentially a little bit harder. Enemies will have a little bit more health and a little bit more damage, so if you are walking into, especially on a gear character, your scaling is going to be a little bit different. Lower gear players are not going to be hit with that content nearly as heavily, but incoming damage against gear players is going to be slightly increased. Not by much, but it is meant to be an opportunity for them to actually give players the ability to practice their character in a more realistic situation and make especially boss fights a little bit more authentic and realistic as they were like back in BFA, for instance, which I think is not a bad idea. I think a lot of us have seen many players out there that just hit max level, get their gear, but they have no idea how to play the class's rotation, and that's mostly because the content as you level up is really trivial. Like nothing is really going to challenge you or get you to want to practice your character or practice your rotation or really force you to learn how to play your character properly. So hopefully it's one of those little steps that makes things a little bit better in that direction. Specifically, maybe makes a better experience for newer players really getting to experience the fights. Yeah, it will slow down the content a little bit, but with that slowdown, they also want to make sure that the rewards are compensated for that slowdown in scaling. Right now, the compensation is going to be more time war badges, but also the gear drops from time walking dungeons will be upgraded. Normally they're as low as Explorer, but now they're going to be Adventurer. Though personally, I think they should raise it just a little bit to Veteran. I mean, Adventurer is at least a good starting point for a fresh new character, but I think Veteran would at least help more players just dive into Mythic Plus dungeons as well as raids or potentially even lower tier or some mid-tier delves, you know, really getting into the meat and bones of the endgame content and progression just a little bit quicker, but at the very least that does mean better gear upgrades for a fresh new character. Just by spending time walking dungeons, you'll be able to get at least items at 610 item level, which is a solid starting point. Now, another catch-up component that will be made available in 11.17 is through delves, as delves are going to be getting this whole new system of overcharged delves that will actually have a bit of a different effect on them. Like, as I'm looking at the delves and going to Ashkahet, you can see the Spiral Weave has a little bit of this like lightning animation around it. That means that the delve is overcharged, which has stronger enemies within it, but possibly better rewards. And through a quest line through this overcharged system of you discovering some Titan relics within delves, delve players, but I guess also anybody that does the quest line, will be able to pick up a brand new belt item of durable information securing container, which comes with primary stats like intellect, agility, strength, as well as stamina, and a prismatic socket for you to slot any gem into. However, this belt does not have secondary stats. Instead, it has ability effects that are fully customizable. Essentially, if you played in the patch 11.07, this is your Cersei circlet, but in a belt-style format, though just as customizable as the original item, though instead of having to find and grind out gems in a island and then buying those gems and then upgrading the ring, you instead go to overcharged delves to find a variety of different powers within delves and slot them in directly into your belt slot. Now in this character, it resets, so I don't actually have any of the abilities, but all of them either will have some sort of like a lightning damage style effect that deals damage to enemies specifically, whether in AoE or a single target, or some kind of a healing ray that zaps allies to restore their health, either from a close-up or from afar, but also a variety of different stat bonuses from versatility, mastery, haste, as well as crit. And all of these will scale a little bit differently. Some will have a bit of an ebb and flow to it. Some will proc based on your damage abilities or taking damage from enemy attacks, and some will proc from like when you crit, you gain a crit buff or whatever. Things like that, right? So those stats, so the belt essentially will be completely customizable, either offering you damage procs like the one I have here that allows you your lightning rod to strike at multiple targets every few seconds, or you could either go for secondary stat procs if that is how you choose. The belt also starts out at a fairly high item level of 690, which is literally better than every item in the season, but you also will be able to further upgrade it from what I saw last time. You might be able to get this thing upgraded to item level 700 over a few weeks of doing the main quest. You also will get some new bonuses within delves, like some sort of a like there's a Titan console that'll be available in overcharged delves that will allow you to gain a variety of different delve specific buffs to make delve runs a little bit easier. As you will have more challenges within those delves, you'll be able to upgrade that as well. So this potentially could make delve runs a little bit easier for alts. Could be another form of catch up, but the belt itself will be a fairly big power gain out of the patch 11.17. However, in 11.17, we're also getting a brand new unique buff that isn't necessarily great for catch-up in levels, catch-up or in gear, but potentially a good catch-up for any of you that are big into collectibles. So looking at mount collectors, pet collectors, toy collectors, and transmog collectors, those of you will be able to get a fairly sizable catch-up, which I think still fits this video's format. There's going to be an event that's a Diablo-style crossover event of Greedy Emissary, which will allow players to collect a variety of different transmog pieces as well as cosmetics. Specifically, one of the close ones will be the WoW's 20th anniversary recolors sets. So you have the original one, like the this one is the Battle Gear of Wrath. Executioner's Bladed Battle Gear will be a recolor for warriors, and there's one for every single class in the game. Now, all those sets will be available during the Greedy Emissary event, which is a Diablo crossover type of a thing. However, there's also going to be an additional bonus during this event called Collector's Bounty, which is a brand new bonus that we've never seen before when it comes to WoW content. It's a buff that doesn't increase your character's reputation gain, experience, or potential chances at gear drops from endgame content. No, instead, it actually increases your chances to drop items from legacy content specifically. Legacy content being anything from older expansion dungeons that uses a legacy loot system. So kind of like whenever, let's say you go into Battle for Azeroth raids and you go into I don't know, Battle for Desert Lore. Maybe you're trying to farm up some of the different transmogs. Maybe you're trying to farm up some of the different mounts from that content. By being able to put this item and this whole instance into a legacy mode, you're able to walk through it and pick up a bunch of different rewards, even if you don't have a full raid full of players to fill out all of those slots. So those are the items in legacy content, basically everything that is in Dragonflight right now specifically. All of those are considered legacy content for you to dive back into. And this buff on paper sounds like it'll give you better chances to collect transmogs, possibly even pets, possibly even toys, and possibly even higher chances for you to loot legacy loot such as mounts from older content. At least that is the assumption as of this moment. Blizz did say they'll have a little bit more information regarding this new feature at some point in the future, but it's very possible that most players are going to be able to go into content such as, let's say, Emerald Nightmare, either on Heroic or Mythic, and have high chances for those Xavier shoulders to spawn, which are absolutely look amazing. Then you can think of any other items from Battle for Azeroth, Shadowlands, Wrath, Kata, any of the older expansions that have maybe some awesome items, some sort of awesome pieces, maybe some really rare drops, but technically there's all these other items in this content, such as weapon enchants, pets, mounts, that are technically also on a legacy loot table as well. So as of the moment, it is assumed that potentially this event is going to give players a higher chance to drop some of those raid mount drops as well, from dungeons and raids specifically. Not everybody in WoW, let's be honest, plays the game for endgame progression and trying to get highest ranks and highest scores. Some players just play for the collectathons of it all. The mounts, the mogs, that's the reason why so many players dive into endgame content to begin with, even if it's usually, let's say, out of their field of expertise. Some players dive into some of the more challenging content out there just for those awesome collectibles. So this could be one of the best ways for you to catch up on those collectibles during this upcoming buff as part of the patch 11.17. But with that being said, as always, I do want to thank all of you guys so much for watching and hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did enjoy it or found it informative, go ahead and give it a like. I would very much appreciate it. Join our Discord community to keep up with any new updates regarding patch 11.17 or when the release date might be, or if you just want to keep up with like regular patch notes for live runs as well. Also, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Which of these catch-up benefits are you the most excited for? And as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.